So today, some of you have given time, your time, to go on the Hill to communicate with our fearless, sometimes fearful leaders, and to give your views on what matters, and hoping that it will influence those who are making policy for this country. Well, the person who's going to introduce this year's Benchley Award winner for media, is the individual who was the winner for policy back in 2010. That's Dr. Jane Lubchenco. Jane is not just given a few days here and there. She's given years at NOAA to bring science into focus in terms of the ocean and what we can do, what she can do, what all of us can do to make a difference. Jane is going to give the award for media. This is given to an individual or media outlet that shows exceptional ability in communicating ocean issues of concern to the public in ways that inform or inspire people to act as engaged citizens. Jane, would you come to the podium, please?
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Wendy and David. And whoever chose these images, isn't this spectacular? Yes. Really, really gorgeous. More than a decade ago, Jeannie Sedgwick at the Packard Foundation challenged some of her grantees to figure out a way to infuse good marine science into public awareness and policy. A new transboundary organization was the result. This was a bold new experiment to bring marketing and communication savvy together with stellar marine science, and thus Compass was born. A few key individuals deserved credit for growing Compass into the vibrant and effective communication organization that it is today, but especially Vicki Spruill and Brooke Simler-Smith, who are here with us today, and the incomparable Nancy Barron, whom we honor today along with Compass. With a great nose for a good story and a keen appreciation for getting the science both right and understandable, Nancy has cajoled, coached, mentored, and challenged marine scientists to be more effective communicators. Scientists of many stripes, recalcitrant to eager, have learned from the Uber teacher, Nancy. She taught them, in her words, to make sure that the juice was worth the squeeze and to escape from the ivory tower. And with her wide grin and readiness to pour a glass of California red or white at the drop of a hat, Nancy has won over even the most cynical reporters, thus expanding quality coverage of oceans. Journalists now know that when Nancy calls and says, "You should pay attention to this," that indeed they should. The bottom line, Nancy has earned the trust and the respect of both scientists and journalists, and she's brought them together to the benefit of both people and life in the oceans. So it gives me a very special pleasure to recognize Nancy Barron and Compass with this year's Peter Benchley Ocean Award for Excellence in Media.
Jane. For me, it's almost poetic that Jane should be presenting this Benchley Award, because she's been one of my main compass points and a true leader for the oceans since the very beginning of Compass. It's been a long sea voyage, and it's hard to believe it's been 13 years since the time when you and Vicki Sproul, then of CWeb, and Chuck Sabat of Island Press, and leaders from Monterey Bay Aquarium, and of course, our stalwart funders from Packard, which included Mike Sutton at the time, first decided there was a need for something like Compass. At the time, I was the first person hired, and it was nothing more than a big idea. But we really it was totally uncharted waters as to how would we actually get there. And it really was a voyage of discovery and figuring it out as we went. I owe a special thank you to Jane and to Vicki, who saw a role for me in your vision and in your big idea. And I remember you were a bit blithe, Vicki, when you sort of called me up and said that you had this job for me, and I was like, really? Really? But you've always had such confidence and flair and just such a sense of strategic vision that I thought, okay, I'm signing on this ship. I don't know where it's going. And I really didn't know that it would be a 13-year voyage. As Jane said, this award is also for Compass, which now is a team of 13 people, and I'm delighted to have quite a few of them here. So I can't see in these lights, but could the Compass folks please stand up? That's Brooke Smith, Megan Miner, Chad English, and Erica Goldman, who are at least a third of our team, and what a great team we are. As Jane said, we were founded on the premise that ocean scientists had a wealth of knowledge that wasn't being reflected in public understanding or policy or management. And we had to figure out a way to get it out there. And so the concept was that the media were a gatekeeper to reaching all of these audiences. So that was a great idea, but actually nobody actually knew any of the journalists at the time. And so that was our first vision, was how do we actually make connections with these people? How do we bring them on board? And what we found was there was a hunger and an appetite and an interest when we actually approached journalists and said, you know, there's really fascinating work going on. Over the years, we found that by helping scientists figure out how to make their science relevant, it can at least be at the table of decisions being made, even though we know there are all these other factors that are going to come into play. And I think because of our work, we can say we've helped to raise the awareness at the national and international level for fisheries issues, marine protected areas, and ecosystem level changes like ocean acidification. In the course of doing this, I've gotten to know hundreds of scientists, some of whom I could see in this room, some of whom I've spent intense experiences with as we collaborated on figuring out how to communicate your work. And the number of journalists, too, this network that now many journalists have many friendships with scientists and vice versa. And yesterday I had the pleasure at the Blue Vision conference of doing an event with Juliet Alperin of the Washington Post, who is a former also winner of the Benchley Media Award. So the world's changed, and as we know, that the media still play a critical role, particularly with decision makers. But increasingly with social media, this offers scientists an opportunity to engage themselves directly and to think about targeting a wide range of audiences. And what we're working at now is thinking about how do we give scientists the tools to engage, whether it's with media, whether it's directly by bringing them into conversations with policymakers, or with the wider world through the online opportunities that exist. Communications isn't only about speaking out. In order to be effective, it also has to be about listening. It has to be about conversations. It has to be really about engaging in a wide range of ways. But what it's always been about for me, it's about building relationships. And through relationships, the networks that help us expand outwards. When scientists stand up and speak out and engage. It's like a drop of water hitting the surface. It sends out ripples with unexpected and often powerful repercussions. I'd like to close by thanking Wendy Benchley and David Helvark for doing such a splendid job of being forces for change here. I'm grateful to have the opportunity like this evening to come together with friends, to celebrate the oceans, and to remind us all why what we do matters so much. Thank you.